The name of the person I'm interviewing is Dan Fiala. Start off, what was the branch you served in?
The Navy.
Right. What were the dates you serviced?
1992 to 1996.
Did you get drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Why'd you enlist or join?
I went to school at Milford in Southeast Community College, and I wasn't finding any jobs that I liked.
Yeah.
And my grandfather and my father had both been in the Navy, so I thought I'd go there and get some experience and maybe help me with the job later on.
What was boot camp like or training?
Boot camp, we were in Chicago, and it was in January, north of Chicago by the Great Lakes, and so it was cold. It was always cold. I mean, the sun would come out, but it was cold. And we did all of our marching out on the grinders, which are the parking lots between the barracks. We did all of our running, anything formation. To get to any class, you had to march.
Yeah.
So it was, I remember cold, and then we were always tired because they would randomly in the middle of the night come wake you up and thrash you because somebody didn't put something away right, or and then like the barracks inspections, if when you went to go to class, the company commanders who my company commanders were both sonar techs that were on rotation off of a sub for a few months. They came and did this. If your socks weren't in the right place or your underwear wasn't in the right place, they just tear it all off.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So everything, you'd come back from class and everything's in the middle of the aisle and your beds are off the rack, you know, and so then they give you 5 minutes to put everything back perfect.
Oh wow.
It was just a continuous cycle of, it was just hard, but you learn attention to detail pretty fast.
Okay. You mentioned class, like what classes were there?
There were a lot of seamanship, naval history, the watertight control, fire control, so they teach you how to, you know, if there's a leak in a pipe on the boat, how to fix it, if there's a fire, how to conceal it, or not to conceal it, but how to lock it down to one space, because the boat's built into compartments so that you can lock a compartment off if something happens.
Okay. How'd you get through it?
Found friends and confided in friends, and when wrote a lot of letters.
What type of work did you perform?
I was an avionics technician, so
Okay.
I worked on the electronics in airplanes.
Okay. What did they teach you in the service?
So my A school was in Millington, Tennessee, and we learned basic and advanced electronics to do with radar and navigation type stuff is what I was working on, and a little bit of fire control, like the part of the airplanes that when the pilot pushes the button to drop the bomb, I was the guy that made sure that everything worked from the button. And then after later on in my enlistment, I went from working on the actual plane to working on the parts that they pull off the planes. So it was a little bit more of a controlled environment at the end.
Oh, what kind of planes did you work on?
Mainly A6s. We did a little bit of F-14 Tomcats, and then I focused on E-2 Hawkeyes at the end.
Nice. Where did you serve?
After boot camp, I went to Millington, Tennessee, which is north of Memphis a little bit, for A school for about 6 months, and then I went to Naval Air Station Whidbey Island, which is north of Seattle, on an island, which is really cool because there's one way on by a bridge over this really cool canyon. It was this nice place to go, and then the other way off was on a ferry. So you truly were on an island. It wasn't like Grand Island, where it's an actual island.
Oh wow!
From there, my squadron got decommissioned after I was with them for a little while because the airplanes were going. They were just going out there, facing them out. Yeah. So I went to Miramar for another school, and then from Miramar, which is in San Diego, that's where they did Top Gun.
Okay.
Like the beach scene was actually near the barracks I got to stay in. You know, where they played sand volleyball. That was kind of neat. And then from there, I went to Japan. I was stationed on an aircraft carrier out of Yokosuka, Japan, for the last 2 years and some change.
Oh, okay. Did you serve during the war?
At the end of the Desert Storm. I was enlisted during it, but I actually didn't. My job didn't put me in the front lines or in combat or anything. Okay. We'd get the planes ready and they'd go away and they'd come back.
What was the most memorable experiences there?
It was probably we had a helicopter go down during flight ops once. That was pretty, I mean, it kind of shook everybody. There was some kind of mechanical malfunction, and it went into the water, and then they had to go recover what they could from it. But mainly, I think probably experiences with the friends that I made on the boat, because we'd be on the boat for 2-3 months at a time, and then they put you into a foreign port where you've never been, and then all these friends that you've become close with, because it's such tight quarters, everybody's got to get along. You get to go out and have a good time, go see some sights, catch a movie.
Were you awarded any medals?
I had a meritorious service, which just means that you had 4 good years of service.
Yeah.
The Southwestern Asian Service Unit Medallion, called SWASM, because I was in during the Desert Storm at the end of it. And then I got the Sea Service, which was pretty easy for a guy that's stationed on a boat to get the sea service.
Yeah.
And then that actually had stars on it because of the amount of time.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the National Defense that they give everybody after you get out of boot camp. Because if you enlist in a time of conflict, I think that's how they get that one. But so not a lot.
Yeah. What was your favorite medal out of all of them?
Probably the meritorious service, because I was doing my job and I was doing it right, and I was promoting, so it was kind of a pat on the back.
What was the hardest and the easiest medal that you got?
Well, the Sea Service was easy because you're on the boat, but also in turn being on the boat was hard.
Okay.
Because you literally, we slept on coffin racks, is what they were called.
Okay.
They're 3 high, 1 bottom, middle, and then high. And everything you owned, your mattress was about 3 inches thick, and it's about 6 foot by 2 foot. Maybe just a little longer than that, because I was 6 foot, but I fit on it. But you lift that mattress up, and the thing was like the top of a locker. So you had about 6 inches of space underneath your bed. That's where all your stuff had to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then you had a little stand-up locker to hang up your dress uniforms in, so that they were good looking still. But it was just, and that's everything you had.
Oh, wow.
You had to have clothes for when you went off when you got into ports. You had to have civilian clothes to go off on, and you had to have a complete sea bag for all your gear for living on a boat. So that was tough.
Yeah. Did you get in touch with your family?
I wrote letters, like I said, and then when we were portside, like in Japan, they had on the base they had calling centers. You could buy calling cards and call.
Okay.
But it was tough because the time is different. I forget how, it was 18 hours off, so it was usually a different day and a different time when you called back to Nebraska from Japan.
Yeah. What was the food that you liked there?
Gosh, I loved all the food on the boat. It was good. Trying to think. The eggs, I think, were probably what I remember the most, because they had some good cooks and they were good at breakfast food. So.
Did you feel any pressure or stress?
Yeah, on the boat, it was stressed because there was a limited amount of parts for the airplanes.
Okay.
So if there was only 5 of this one part for 16 airplanes, and you got 4 of them or 5 extras for 16 airplanes, and you've got 4 of them in your shop trying to fix them, if you lose a couple, then that plane can't fly, and the squadron can't complete their mission if they don't. Yeah, so there was a little bit of pressure there. When I was working on the planes themselves on the flight deck, that was, I didn't have to do that a whole lot because the short time I was with that squadron, but it's pretty intense when you're up on the deck and they're launching airplanes, and there's planes firing up and moving, and it's pretty chaotic.
How'd you guys entertain yourself?
Well, it's like a ship's blockbuster. You could go get movies, check movies out from, and reading. There was a library on the boat, and we worked out a lot. There was I wouldn't say full size, but it was a pretty big gym suspended from the inside of the hangar bay. So inside the boat, you had to climb all these stairs to get up to it, but they had the free weights were free in the fact that you could put them on there, but everything was attached to pools.
Okay.
Because the boat was rocking all the time. So if you're bench pressing, the boat shifts, so you couldn't catch a pipe on the neck or something. But
okay.
Yeah.
What was your favorite movie you watched?
Gosh, we had, what was that? Pulp Fiction. It's the one I remember the most. And then Natural Born Killers came out when I was on. They're both kind of sketchy, but they were fun.
Yeah. What'd you do when you left?
The military?
Yeah.
I worked at Ag Chem. I worked on fertilizer spreaders for about maybe 3 or 4 months, and then I was an electrician at a factory in Eldon, Nebraska for about a year. And then in July '97, I got on with the State Patrol, and I've been with them ever since.
Do you remember any like funny events that happened, or interesting ones?
Oh, we had that guy in our shop that was kind of being annoying. So we took like his shirt off, and I think, I'm not sure how much I can talk about. Took his shirt off, and I think it may be part of his, like his shoes or something. We duct taped him and put him out in the hallway, and he was out there for a while before we got told to bring him back. But he quit being annoying after that. So
There was that one guy.
Yeah. And like the shellback ceremony was pretty cool. I mean, that was the day where I talked about where you had to suck the grape out of a fat guy's belly. Yeah, it was neat tradition to follow up, and it wasn't fun at the time, but looking back at it,
Yeah.
It was well worth it.
Did you make any close friendships?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually going through finding some photos that I could bring in. I actually, my wife scanned them in, and I put them on Facebook to some of the guys I still keep in touch with. You know, just, hey, you guys remember this? Look, we were skinny then.
Do you continue to be in touch with them?
Yeah, just pretty much like text messages and Facebook, because they're spread out. I got a friend in Arkansas, one in Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and South Dakota. So we don't get together, but we kind of keep in touch that way.
Do you recall when the day was over? Like the last day, kind of?
Yeah, I'd actually processed out, and they flew me from Japan back to Seattle, and there was some mix-up with my paperwork.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I just kind of sat in limbo for a couple weeks in Seattle, or at Whidbey Island, north of Seattle, and I didn't have a car. You know, it was before cell phones. Computers weren't really a thing, so I just kind of had to hang out there for a couple weeks waiting for my paperwork to catch up with me so I could process out and get home.
Yeah.
So it was like they're dangling the carrot in front of you.
What'd you do what'd you do afterwards?
When I got out? Or?
Like days and weeks afterwards. Yeah, when you got out.
Oh, well, I took a little bit of time to just kind of get my stuff together, and I was living in my folks' basement, so I had to go find an apartment. Yeah. And then the job hunt. You know, I had some money saved up, but I didn't want to burn through it, so I tried to get a job as quick as I could.
Did you go to work or school?
I went to work, and then when I got on with the patrol, there's 6 months of schooling before you can go out and work.
Okay.
So like the GI Bill helped me with that, and then the FTO program, which is a field training officer program, is 6 months long at that time then too, and the GI Bill gave me a payment every couple weeks for that, so it was treated like a school or a college.
Okay. Oh, did you join any veteran organizations?
I just joined the American Legion and the American Legion Riders about maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah. Oh, my dad's in that too.
Yeah.
Did you attend any reunions with any?
We got together, maybe the close friends that I keep in touch with shortly after we all got out, and it wasn't all of us, it was just probably 2 of us, but yeah, that was the last time, so it's been 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or no, yeah, 20 years ago.
Nice. What do you do as a career now?
I'm a state trooper.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do as a state trooper?
I'm a criminal investigator right now, so I work internet crimes against children. We work assaults, burglaries, crime, like identity fraud,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Okay.
Statute violations.
Is that fun?
It can be. It can be.
Did your military experience influence thinking about the war and about military in general?
Yeah, I mean, I realize that the military's got a job to do, and it's important that they're allowed to do it. I don't think that the public always sees or agrees with what's going on because they haven't been there and done it.
Yeah.
I wasn't in charge of a lot, but it's important to let the people that are in charge and let them make those decisions instead of armchair quarterbacking.
Who was your best friend?
Brian Fortney. I actually named one of my boys. His middle name was Brian Cole Fortney.
Okay.
That's where we got Cole's name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you got it covered.
Okay.